Okay, welcome to another live stream with the IELTS Grind. So today it's me, Phil, and our topic is going to be writing. And what I've got prepared for you today are some, I'm going to look at a correction for a student, first of all, who's submitted an essay. Then I'm going to be talking about grammatical skills for writing. So I always recommend writing more complex sentences, but I never really explain what I mean by that. So today we're going to look at a few examples of what complex grammatical structures are, and this will help you improve your writing. So if you're joining us for the first time, then I'll just explain a few things. So make sure that when you come to the video you click live, and that way you'll be able to watch in real time and talk to me. Oh yeah, got Van Tran. Do I remember you? Of course, yeah. We had a conversation, didn't we? Okay, a very good conversation as well on Friday when we did a mock speaking test. The other thing is to give us a like if you find the videos useful. This helps it spread to other people. The other thing I can tell you is if you come to our website, the IELTSGrind.com, and click on live stream schedule, you will find the upcoming schedule. So for example, today it's Thursday, it's 3 p.m. and it's me, Phil, and we're talking about writing. But tomorrow I'll be back to do mock speaking tests at 8 p.m. and on Saturday Michael is doing a group speaking class at 5 p.m. and then we've got a live stream full exam so you can practice on Sunday. So all these times are based in Taipei in Taiwan, so make sure you match up what time it is here. So 3 o'clock in Taipei. If you're in New Delhi, it's just 12:30. Cairo, it would be 9 in the morning. Ho Chi Minh City, it's just after 2. And Bangkok is also just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you can find out all the information here at live stream schedule on the website. Okay, so let's get started. And we're going to begin by looking at an essay that Raghav actually submitted to us. Okay, so the first thing I think I'll do, let me just zoom in a little bit. If I zoom in, you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly, or is that too much? Okay, so how does that work? Is that better? Okay, I think we can see. If you can see clearly on the screen, then let me know. Just say yes, I can see, or something like this in the chat. So this was an essay that Raghav, who is a regular viewer of ours, he submitted to the email address above us, so corrections@theieltsgrind.com. So by submitting your essay there, you get a free analysis, we give you feedback and an estimated band score live on the live stream here. So if you want to have your writing looked at by a native tutor, I've been teaching IELTS for many years, then you can send it to that email address, corrections@theieltsgrind.com, and as they come in, we go through them and try and correct them live on air. Okay, and the other thing is, if you don't want them corrected live but you still need corrections, we are going to set up a paid correction service, which is going to be great value. But if you can't afford to pay for free for paid corrections, do it for free just by sending it to corrections@theieltsgrind.com. Okay, so let's have a look at this essay. So firstly, the question was, some people say that the more a product is advertised, the more people will buy it. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay, so we should know from this essay the structure. Okay, so every essay in IELTS has an introduction, has a body, and has a conclusion. Okay, and what we want to do is write 1 to 4 sentences in the introduction. We want to write 2 paragraphs. Oh, can't spell. That's a typo. I'm trying to write from behind my microphone. I can't see my keyboard. So 2 paragraphs, and probably the paragraphs you're looking to write about 6 to 8 sentences. Now, this really depends on how quickly you write and the type of essay, but I think somewhere between 6 and 8 sentences within a body paragraph would be, it would be well written. There would be a lot of information. And your conclusion, again, you're looking to write about 1 to 4 sentences. Honestly, when I write these, my introduction and my conclusion are more like 2 sentences. Most of the bulk, or the meat, as we say, of the essay is in your body. Okay, so from this sentence, can anyone tell me which type of essay should Raghav had written? So there are 3 main groups of essays. There are IELTS essays that ask you to write about 2 different things. For example, the problems and solutions of an issue. There are essays that ask you to discuss 2 points of view and then to give your opinion. And then there are essays that ask you to write about what you think, your opinion. So which of those 3 essays should Raghav have written for this one? Which structure? So we've got a 2-question essay, a discussion essay, where you look at both sides and give an opinion, and finally an opinion essay. So based on this question, can anyone in the chat tell me which essay we should choose? Hi, welcome. So Rasita, yeah. I'm terrible with names. If I pronounce your name wrong, then you have permission to tell me I'm an idiot or something. So, which essay? Yes, Yassine, an opinion essay. Absolutely right. So that means that we would expect the thesis to be the opinion. So clearly writing the opinion there. Okay. Then 2 paragraphs with at least 1 idea or 1 reason in each paragraph for our opinion. And then the conclusion again is to paraphrase our opinion and why. And the why are the main reasons, or the main ideas from our paragraphs. So this is the structure we would expect. Okay, so let's see how well Raghav did it. So the only thing I should say actually is I'm going to share this in the chat. Okay, so this is the document that we're using. So you can feel free to follow along here, and you can look at this in your own time and see what Raghav did well and what he could improve. So what I'll do is, this is the essay he wrote, and I'm going to split this up into the 4 marking criteria. Now, if you're joining me for the first time, you can come to the description of this video, so today's video. If you click on writing task 2, this will give you the band score descriptors. If you've ever wondered how do you get the band score you need for your writing, this is how you do it. Okay, so it's split into 4 criteria: task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. Okay, so I'm going to look at his essay in these 4 criteria. So let's have a look. So first of all, task response. So what I'm looking for here is how well did Raghav address the question, the task. So the task was to give his opinion about the topic, whether or not advertising makes people buy things more often. So if we read through it, many people are of the opinion that heavily advertised products are bought by a big number of people. I completely agree with this statement because the public in general have great trust in advertisement, and customers' choice is influenced considerably by marketing and advertising industries. So his thesis is what tells me whether or not he's going to be answering the question fully. Okay, so I'm going to be looking through the rest of the essay and asking myself, does everything point back to the thesis? In this case, it's an opinion. Okay, so for the first this first category, task response, I will be reading everything. In the next 3 categories, I will just be picking out the information that applies. Okay, that way we can all read the essay together at least once. So moving on to the body. To begin, a great number of customers tend to purchase products which are familiar to them. Seeing various adverts on social media, television or big boards makes regular customers subconsciously think that advertised products are not unfamiliar goods. Hence, they can be trusted. It is more likely that customers choose such kind of products among others on supermarkets' shelves. For example, buying cosmetics for personal usage, customers in Thailand prefer to pick brands that they at least heard of, whereas no name brands can be ignored. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is, does the paragraph match up to the thesis? The thesis is, this is what I'm going to do in this essay. So we can tell from the topic sentence, to begin, a great number of customers tend to purchase products which are familiar to them. This kind of links up to this part. In general, have great trust in advertisements. And yeah, so this part of his thesis is really matching up to paragraph 1. Okay, so he's exploring that part of his thesis here, so that's good. And if we go through, the theme is really trusting a brand, and Raghav goes through and develops that quite well. If we go to the next paragraph, it says, this is because these days it is hard to avoid advertising, which can have various forms and can be found almost everywhere people look. Not only adverts is ubiquitous, it is also often manipulative and even belligerent. Moreover, many corporations with enormous budgets organize advertising campaigns to undermine their foes. For instance, KFC, a fast food chain, regularly creates offensive advertisements for McDonald's, claiming that their burgers are inedible. By creating hype, KFC draws customers' attention so much that occasionally long queues of customers outside KFC restaurants. Okay, so just looking at the development, okay, so basically the next part of his thesis is customers' choice is influenced considerably by marketing. So the influence here is really where he has this sentence: it is often manipulative and even belligerent. So manipulative means it's changing the way you think or making you do things that the advertiser wants you to do. Belligerent this is really almost like it's violent. Maybe this isn't a great choice of word. Maybe he's describing how it's often very intense advertising, constant. So perhaps it is the right word. But I think this is the sentence that links it to his thesis. And as we go through, we can see this part where it talks about KFC having long queues, so lines of people, of customers outside the restaurants. So it is linking to this idea that we are influenced. And then if we come to the conclusion, it says, to conclude, I completely agree that a myriad of people are likely to buy advertised products because they believe that those products are of good quality, and advertisements campaigns can affect the public's choice considerably. So his conclusion again talks about his thesis here. So they are the same, congruent. They're saying the same thing. Okay, so this is why I think that Raghav for task response would get 7 to 8. It's probably nearer a 7 than an 8. It's just because the ideas do connect up, but they could perhaps be developed a little bit more. Perhaps what we could see is maybe one more example, a second reason here perhaps. It's good, but I feel like it's not developed fully enough. And one of the reasons I would say is actually I would not write the reasons why in my statement here. Okay, I would simply write something like, I personally think that, and what I think. The danger is when you write the reasons here, often you have to think of more ways of saying it in the body, and if you don't quite match everything up to what you've written, although Raghav did do that, it can sometimes lower your score. So it's better just to say, I personally think that people are very influenced by advertisements, and that's good enough for thesis, and you're just going to argue it in the rest of the essay. So yeah, he's definitely somewhere between a 7 and 8. I think it's probably closer to a 7 than an 8, but that's my opinion. Okay, so coherence, coherence, potato, patata. It's the next part of the marking criteria. So here what we're looking for is how easy is it for the reader to follow what you're saying? How well do your ideas link together? And to be honest, Raghav did a very good job here. So you can see everything that's in green I think is really good. So I completely agree with this statement. Now, often Michael and I, we tell people never to write agree or disagree in your thesis statement for opinion essays. The reason we say don't write agree or disagree is because it's very difficult to get it right. You have to write this in a certain way. Raghav has done it perfectly. Okay, so I completely agree with this statement. So what you have to do is to have a statement. Many people are of the opinion that heavily advertised products are bought by a big number of people. This is the statement that he agrees with. Often students, they forget to have a clear statement with which to agree. So normally Michael and I would say, right, think, believe, my opinion is. That is less likely to be messed up, less likely for you to make a mistake. But if you're looking for a good example of how to do it, Raghav did it perfectly here. Okay, so very well done. So things like having to begin, so your sequence language, firstly, finally, all those sorts of words, that really helps with your coherence. It makes it easy to follow. And here, so seeing various adverts on social media, television, or big boards, this is kind of linking on to what he said here. A great number of customers tend to purchase products which are familiar to them. He's explaining what that means. That makes it very easy to follow the argument. So things like that, explaining what you've just said. So the only thing here is there's a missing word. So if I read the sentence, seeing various adverts on social media, television, or big boards makes regular customers subconsciously think that advertised products are not on familiar goods. Okay, so what we want to do here is to reference. I want to reference the purchased products with a missing word. Okay, and the word we should use is these advertised products. We're referring back to what we've said. If you can use referencing things like this, that, these, those, ones, it, them, those kind of words to refer back to what you've said, that's going to help with coherence. So hence they can be trusted. He's explained what he's just said here, and that links back to what he said about great trust. So this is already helping him, and everything in green is really good. So the only thing I would say about his essay here, so these goods, as you say in the chat there, this would work as well. So the only issue I had here was his example. For instance, KFC, a fast food chain, regularly creates offensive advertisements for McDonald's, claiming their burgers are inedible. So on the face of it, this isn't an example that links to what he's saying. He's talking about how advertising manipulates people. And if you just took this example on its own, it's talking about attacking a competitor. So KFC and McDonald's, they're competitors. But what Raghav does is, in this sentence, he explains why that example is relevant to his main argument. So if he didn't have this sentence, it wouldn't make sense choosing this. But by having this sentence, he redeems the fact that the example wasn't, on face value, a good one. I actually think it makes it very strong by having this, explaining why having these offensive advertisements leads to people wanting to buy KFC because they've been manipulated, thinking that the food is inedible, which means you can't eat it. So this is why I think Raghav would probably get close to an 8 for this part. He's done a pretty good job here. In terms of lexical resource, everything you see here in green is really good. Many people are of the opinion. That is a great phrase. You should steal that for your own opinion essays. Really good. You can use this for opinion essays. You can use this for discussion essays. Heavily advertised. This is a great collocation. A collocation is when one word and another word naturally go together. This is good. I think I wouldn't say by a big number of people. I might say by possibly large number of people, vast amounts of people, possibly. So that would be, I wouldn't use big number. It's okay, but I think large number is a better collocation. Here, have trust in advertisement. Now, if you don't have spell check in the exam, but the spell check here is saying advertising. But we've got advertising here as well. So I might just change it to advert, so advertisements. Because, yeah, it's a general idea, so we don't want to have it in the singular. Here, the issue, customer's choice, it's actually grammatical really, but it's having this apostrophe. It's about possession. The choice belongs to the customer. Okay. So just a few things here and there. Good phrase, tend to purchase, subconsciously, excellent. But here, big boards. So you've probably seen these. These are by the side of the road, on buildings. They are large advertisements, big pictures. But you don't call them big boards. We call them billboards. Billboards. Okay. So I understood what he meant, but it's not the right word. No. What else? Here, it is more likely that customers choose such kind of products, kinds of products. So just watch out for the singular plural. Again, among others on supermarket shelves. Again, this should be supermarket shelves in general. And here, for example, buying cosmetics for personal usage. There's an example to put in another word. So, for example, when buying cosmetics, customers in Thailand. This would be better. Okay. And moving on, ubiquitous. Great word, well used. It means when something's very common. So learn how to spell this word and use it. And we've already seen manipulative and belligerent. Again, high level vocabulary. Enormous budgets. This is a great collocation. Really well done. Undermine their foes. So a foe is like your competitor, your enemy. So he's comparing KFC and McDonald's as if they're enemies. Okay. So I've highlighted KFC here because it should be like this. It should be capitalized. Okay. It's a proper noun and it's an abbreviation of the words, an anagram rather. Yeah. A fast food chain regularly creates offensive offensive advertisements for McDonald's. Now, I'm not sure if offensive is the word I would choose, because offensive, there are two words. There's offensive and defensive. So offensive is attacking, defensive is defending. But offensive also means to offend, to make someone feel unhappy or sad about something you've said. So offensive advertisements would be something with nudity in them, or something with maybe attacking a minority or a certain group of people. So I don't know if I would use offensive. I don't think this is the best term. I understand what Raghav was saying here, so I'm not sure if I use that word. Rather, what could we use? So, yeah, I'm trying to think of the best word, because I know what Raghav wants to say. I think we could use something like manipulative advertisements, but we've already used that. So I will have to think about it, but offensive advertisements is not the greatest term there. Yeah, I'll think about it. The word will come to me. Okay. The other thing I would say is the use of for is not great, because it sounds like they're making the advertisement to give to McDonald's. I would say about is the right word. So this word hype, what does it mean? So hype is when you're getting people excited about something, when people are talking about a topic quite a lot. It's very much in the news. Everybody knows about it. So by creating this buzz, this enthusiasm about what's happening, they can get customers. Yeah, and we often have the phrase, "It didn't live up to the hype." I was disappointed when I finally went to watch the movie, for example. Sarcastic, I don't know, Raghav, is it sarcastic? The word is on the tip of my tongue. It will come to me. I know. Perhaps how about this one? Underhanded. Creates underhanded advertisements. So underhanded would be kind of this idea that they're doing something for ulterior motives, really, for alternative means. Misleading, that would also work. Well, it depends. I mean, are McDonald's burgers inedible? In some countries they are. But yeah, misleading, that would also work. I just think offensive, it's not a good collocation. It's not a natural phrase. And I understood something different to what Raghav was intending to me. So maybe underhanded, misleading, this would be closer to the mark. What else? KFC draws customers again. So it's easy for me, I've got the spell check, but just remember, it's more of a grammatical thing, as I said before, but the attention belongs to the customers. Okay. And what else? In the conclusion, myriad, a lot of people, really good. And here, those products are of good quality and advertisements campaigns can affect the public's choice. I would say advertising campaigns would be the best one. And then publics, again, it's the same issue that we've had. So overall, I think it's pretty good. Again, I would put it in a band 7 to 8, possibly closer to a 7 than an 8. But there's some great high-level vocabulary there. Just a few missed opportunities here and there, and a few of these basic errors that would jump into grammar. Okay, so looking at grammar, there are lots and lots of sentences without any grammatical mistakes. Okay, but we've still got, I think we spoke about this last time, Raghav, just make sure you capitalize your words. So seeing various adverts on social media, that is an issue, but this part of the sentence is high level, and we're going to see this in the rest of the lesson, why this is high level. Yeah, some really good stuff here. Now, if we look at this sentence, it is more likely that customers choose such kind of products among others on supermarket shelves. Okay, so I'm just going to correct all these things. So here, I feel like we're missing a word. What you've got is okay, but I would include would. Hence, so hence means the same as so. It's talking about a result, a reason. So we could change hence for so. They can be trusted. A hence is higher level. It's more formal. You wouldn't be in the pub with your friends. You probably wouldn't use hence. Okay, but it's great for writing. So I would add would here because it's talking about possibility, and it's just closer to what a native would say. And if we look here, for example, buying cosmetics for personal usage, customers in Thailand prefer to pick brands that they at least heard of, whereas no name brands can be ignored. Now, if we look at basic sentence structure, we've got a subject and we've got basically an object, complement. Every sentence, whether or not it's on its own or as part of a full sentence, every clause normally needs a subject and a verb, and we're missing a verb here. Which verb? So for example, buying cosmetics for personal usage, customers in Thailand prefer to pick brands that they at least heard of. Which verb do we need? Which word is missing? If you can tell me in the chat, which word is missing here? I'll give you a little bit of time because there may be a delay between what I'm saying. So make sure you're watching the video live. You can click on the YouTube video and click live and it will sync it up so we're all live. Are at least. So the key thing here is heard. Heard, it's in the past tense, right? This is actually part of the present perfect. It's part of the present perfect structure. So I hear, I heard, I heard. So what we need is they have at least heard. So this is your auxiliary, okay? And it goes with your past participle, okay? They have at least heard of. Yeah. We wouldn't say they are because we're not describing what they are. But this is an action. They heard about something. They have heard of something. So just watch out for the missing words like that. And here, whereas no name brands can be ignored, it's grammatically correct, but you could possibly change can, which is more like permission. I might change it to may be ignored, which is more possibility. It's just closer to what a native would say. We wouldn't talk about the permission, we'd talk about the possibility of it happening. But overall, yeah, pretty good. And just one other error I would pick out in this paragraph. So again, we've got possibly a typo when you were copying this over. Not with a capital, it's the first word in the sentence. Not only adverts is ubiquitous, it is also often manipulative and even belligerent. So what's the structure for this one? Okay, well the structure is, if I put it in green, so not only to be, so in this case are, adverts, ubiquitous, okay, and now we've got an S, it's plural. So why have we got it here? Okay, so we should change it to they are also, often manipulative. So not only to be, noun, subject to be. This is the structure. Yeah, not only are adverts ubiquitous, they are also often manipulative and even belligerent. So Yassine, we wouldn't use them here because this is still a subject pronoun. We're not talking about them as an object. Yeah. If I wanted to add them as an object, so not only are adverbs ubiquitous, they are also often manipulative and even belligerent, which makes them really bad, you know. So here I could use them because now we're talking about them as an object. Okay, so for what so that's an extra thing, but for what so what color should I put? That was just me playing around. But that shows you how to use them, you've seen, in this context. It's a really good structure, and you can use this if you learn how to put the different parts in it. It's a great sentence to adapt and to still. So really well done. Yeah, so overall I think again the grammar 7 to 8, probably closer to a 7 than an 8. Okay, so that is the essay that Raghav submitted, and if you look above in this video, you can submit your own essays to corrections@theieltsgrind.com, and we can do exactly the same thing where we correct and give feedback for your writing. But do have a look at this. The link is in the chat. I will put the link in to the I can put it into the video later on, and you can use all Raghav's hard work because he writes very well. Okay, so on to today's lesson. Hopefully you're ready. Okay. Yeah, so you can choose any topic that you want to write about. Just include the question. If you don't have any questions to write about, send an email to that same address and say, please can you give me a question, and I'll send you one, and then you can write it and send it back to us. You can even write about the topic. I'm going to give you a question at the end of this lesson, and you can even write about that one. Okay, so let's jump into the actual lesson. So IELTS writing. What I want to do is go through the basic writing building blocks. So sentence structure first of all. Then we're going to talk about complex structures a little bit. I'm going to focus on a few ideas that you can look at. They're actually some of the things that Raghav was using in his essay. And we've got a few exercises we can do together, and then I'll give you a model answer with some of these ideas included in them. So if you guys are ready to go, let's talk about it. So we're going to talk about grammar, so please don't run away. Grammar is important, and it's one way to help you. As we saw with Raghav, he does a very good job in many areas of his writing, but like many students, the grammar can always be improved. Okay, so the first thing you've got to do when you're learning how to write is to start with your basic sentence structure. Okay, so English sentences are structured in the same way. If you have the basic elements, then you'll never get them wrong. So for example, I practice English every day. Okay, so what we have, the basic sentence structure is subject plus a verb plus an object. Okay, so as long as you have these three basic things, you can add what you want to it, but you always need these basic things in a sentence on its own. Okay. Another example, we are studying for the IELTS exam. It basically follows the same thing: subject, verb, and an object. If you understand this, you're halfway to writing perfect English. Okay, so how do we produce more complex sentences, right? Yeah, of course, yeah. Actually, so Van Trant, the issue that Michael and I have is that most of the people that submit essays to us, have very high level writing skills. We actually want to try and help people who are not at that level. We'd like to start with people at lower levels. So if you would like to send us an essay, we would love that, and we think we could really help you. Yep. So feel free to send us your writing examples and we'll give you the feedback that you need. Okay, so how do we turn a basic sentence into something a little bit more complex? So the first step is what are called compound sentences. Okay, a compound sentence is basically taking two sentences and gluing them together. Okay, so we have our first sentence, I practice English every day, and we want to glue it, fix it to we are studying for the IELTS exam. Okay, and the way that we do this is with sometimes just with a word and sometimes with a bit of punctuation. So let's have a look at this. So here we've got a bunch of sentences and we've got what are called conjunctions. Okay, so you've got, so this sentence, she did not cheat on the test, it was the wrong thing to do. Here these sentences are going to be glued together, and what we need to do is choose the word. So you've got but, yet, and, nor, so, and for, and you can use but and so more than once. Okay, so what we're trying to do is to think she did not cheat on the test, but it was wrong thing to do. She did not cheat on the test, yet it was the wrong thing to do. She did not cheat on the test, and it was the wrong thing to do. She did not cheat on the test, so it was the wrong thing to do. Or she did not cheat on the test, for it was the wrong thing to do. What do we think the answer is for this first one? Which conjunction glues these two words together to form a compound sentence? So Yassine thinks it's 4. Let's see if my PowerPoint works. Is it 4? It is 4. Points to you and to Raghav, yeah. So this would be the sentence that glues the words together, okay? And you notice that we have a comma before the conjunction. Okay, so the next one. I really need to go to work. I'm too sick to drive. Which word? So we've got for, we don't use again. So you've got the choice of any of the others. But, yet, and, nor, so, and but and so. So I really need to go to work. I'm too sick to drive. So Krish says but. Do we agree? Okay, Yassine agrees with that. Let's see if you guys are right. But, yeah. How about the next ones? I am counting my calories. I really want dessert. So you've got yet, and, nor, so, and but. So Raghav, you think so? I'm counting my calories, so I really want dessert. I mean, it's grammatically it's possible, but it's a bit illogical. Chris thinks it's yet. Any other suggestions? Yassine thinks it's yet. Okay, let's reveal the answer. It's yet. Okay. He ran out of money. He had to stop playing poker. He ran out of money. He had to stop playing poker. Okay, let's see if you guys are right. So, yeah. They got there early. They got really good seats. They got there early. They got really good seats. So, is it so? And I think so would also work here, but it's two things happened. They got there early and they got really good seats. I'm not going to disagree with you guys. So would also work here if we were talking about a result. Okay, it's one of those exercises. If you filled everything out, you'd probably find you were missing a word somewhere. Anyway, they had no ice cream left at home. Did they have money to go to the store? They had no ice cream left at home. Did they have money to go to the store? Okay, let's see if you guys are right. It's no, yes. So just two left. Everyone was busy. I went to the movie alone. So everyone was busy. I went to the movie alone. So, yeah. And finally, I thought the promotion was mine, but my attendance wasn't good enough. So this is the next step up from a basic sentence structure, compound sentences, linking words together. Okay, let's move on and look at something a little bit more complex. So compound sentences with a semicolon. So a semicolon, as you can see up there. So this is one of those tricky grammatical rules, but if you can learn how to use this, it's going to really improve your writing score for grammar. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, so for example, I spent hours on my essay, semicolon. Phil gave me a low score. So all I'm doing is I'm linking a complete sentence. I spent hours on my essay, subject, verb, object, with another complete sentence. Phil gave me a low score, just with the semicolon. Yeah. Yes, so you can, as you said, Van Tran, you can use conjunctions as well, but this is a step beyond what I'm talking about now. So this is actually, I think it's trickier. Not a lot of people know how to do this actually, even a lot of native writers. So if you can get this down and use it in the right way, it can really help you. So as we were talking about, to make it a little bit easier to read or perhaps sound a little bit nicer, you can use what are called conjunctive adverbs, which are words like you said, however, besides, therefore, meanwhile, and so on. Okay, and with these ones there's a special rule. Okay, so I spent hours on my essay, semicolon, however, comma, I spent hours on my essay. Okay, so I should have changed this to Phil gave me a low score, but oh dear. But anyway, the point is, it's the sentence, then the comma, then the conjunctive adverb with a comma after it, and then you have Phil gave me a low score. Okay, so this is the structure, using semicolons like this or like this with the conjunctive adverb. So let's have a look at some other examples. So what I'll do is just read them out to you so you can see how it works. So the sky is clear, semicolon, the stars are twinkling. The waves were crashing on the shore, semicolon, it was a lovely sight. There were whiteout conditions in the town, semicolon, therefore, comma, the roads were impassable. Check back tomorrow, semicolon, I will see if the book has arrived. He said he was not there yesterday, semicolon, many people saw him there. I am happy to take your donation, semicolon, any amount will be greatly appreciated. She only paints with bold colours, semicolon, indeed, comma, she does not like pastels at all. She works 2 jobs to make ends meet, semicolon, at least, comma, that was her reason for not having time to join us. Malls are great places to shop, semicolon, I can find everything I need under one roof. Italy is my favourite country, semicolon, I plan to spend 2 weeks there next year. Okay. He turned in the research paper on Friday, semicolon, he would have not passed the class otherwise. And you need to pack the appropriate things for camping, semicolon, for example, comma, a sleeping bag will keep you warm. And finally, I have paid my dues, semicolon, as a result, I expect to receive all the privileges listed in the bylaws. Okay, so of course, when you're speaking, you don't say semicolon and comma. I was just saying that to drive it home how we put these together, okay? So it's just some examples of using compound sentences with semicolons. What you can do is find exercises for this. You can buy books. There's English Grammar in Use by Raymond Murphy, which is great for this kind of thing, just practicing doing exercises. But if you Google this online, you'll also find lots of exercises here and there. Okay. Any questions about compound sentences with a semicolon? I'm sure you've seen it, but have you ever used it in your writing? So any questions before we talk about another complex structure that you can practice and try and use in your writing? Everything good? Yassine, you're happy with that? Okay. Right. So the next point I want to talk about is when you're using different what are called clauses within a sentence. So a clause is just a part of a sentence. So Reghav asks, the semicolon is for a long pause. It's not really for pausing. It's not like when we read and there's a comma or there's a full stop period in American English or a semicolon. We do stop for breath often, but that's not the point. The point here is I want to tell you the sky is clear. I want to tell you the stars are twinkling. There's no result, there's no reason, so I wouldn't use a word like as a result or because. All I'm doing is I'm putting the two sentences together, compounding them into one sentence. And to do that, I just need a semicolon. Because if I said the sky is clear, the stars are twinkling, without this, it wouldn't make sense. In terms of punctuation, it wouldn't make sense. So all you're doing is literally, like I said, just gluing them together. You stick them together. And you don't need an extra word in some cases. Here, what we're doing is we're using these conjunctions, these adverbs, to kind of introduce the next thing. Therefore, so, this happened. Yeah. And in this case, we have this structure. So it's not so much about the pause, it's about linking two ideas within one sentence without having to have two separate full stops. It's just a grammatical rule, really. Okay, but let's talk about independent and dependent clauses, okay? So an independent clause, this is a sentence which if you read it on its own, you would fully understand it. You wouldn't need another sentence to explain it. There would be no mystery. So it makes 100% sense on its own. Okay, I decided to eat a sandwich. Yes, I understand that. There's no issues. And again, we've got our subject, verb, and object. So a dependent clause is the opposite. It's a sentence that on its own, it doesn't give you the full information. You would need a second sentence to really make it make sense within the topic of your writing. I was starving. So if you just have that sentence, I was starving, a native speaker would say, why? What happened? So you would need another sentence to explain it. This is just what independent and dependent clauses mean, okay? If you can understand this and you can use what we're about to talk about, you're going to get a very good score with your grammar and with your speaking, okay? Okay, so here are some rules, and what I will do is I will be linking to this PowerPoint as well in the description. I will put them in the description at the end of the live stream lesson, and you can have a look at this as well. So this is how we link them together. So an independent clause with a comma, then we can use these conjunctions: and, but, for, nor, yet, so, the ones that we saw before, and you can link it with another independent clause. Okay, so this is kind of what we looked at before. Okay, and you've got to use a comma in front of the conjunction. Okay, so I had worked up quite an appetite at the gym, comma, so I decided to eat a cheese sandwich. Okay, so this is a way of connecting two independent clauses using words like this. Okay, if we look at an independent clause, and we can use the conjunctive adverbs to link to an independent clause as well. Okay, and here the rules are a little bit different. Okay, generally what we need is a semicolon before these words and a comma after the conjunctive adverb. So words like accordingly, also, besides, consequently, furthermore, however, moreover, nevertheless, otherwise, then, therefore, thus, and still. Okay, and for example, I had worked up quite an appetite at the gym, consequently I was famished when I arrived home. Okay, so these are two independent sentences. I was famished when I arrived home. I don't need any extra information, but what I'm doing is linking a cause and an effect. Okay, and you can use this structure. Okay, so far we're talking about independent clauses, but let's talk about how to connect independent and dependent clauses. Right, so first of all, we would probably use phrases like this at the beginning of the sentence. So you can see we've got after, although, even though, as if, as though, as long as, because, before, if, so or so that, since, whatever, when, whenever, where, wherever, whether, and while. Okay, So we start off with a dependent clause, and then we can have an independent clause. Okay, and you put a comma after your dependent clause. So the example I have is this: since I was hungry, I decided to make a sandwich. Okay, so I was hungry, although this makes sense grammatically, we don't have a lot of information about it. It doesn't explain itself just on its own. This is why it's called a dependent clause. If I had this sentence, I decided to make a sandwich, on its own, it's fine. I don't need anything else. But I need to explain why I was hungry or what happened as a result of it. So I use since. Since I was hungry, I decided to make a sandwich. So this is an example of connecting a dependent clause to an independent clause. Now, it may seem simple to you. It may seem, oh, I learned that years ago. But if you can learn how to do this in your writing, it's actually considered very complex, because not a lot of students know how to do this actually. Okay, so what else? We can have an independent clause like this. We can use conjunctive adverbs, and there's the same list that we just saw, and have a dependent clause. Now here's the thing. When you arrange it like this, you don't use a semicolon before the conjunctive or a comma after it. Okay, if we go back here, we use a comma here. Okay, and if we go way back, we use a semicolon. But for this structure, you don't use a semicolon before these words. Okay, so to give you an example, I decided not to have a second sandwich even though I was hungry. So you can see there is no semicolon. Okay? And when the dependent clause is like this, it's called a subordinate clause. Okay, because it's relying on this part. Okay, now I know this is a lot of grammar and it's not very interesting for some people, but if you can learn these rules and you can learn these examples, you'll start to naturally write like this and to produce sentences like this in your writing. And this is going to push your score through the roof, doing things like that. Okay, so that is one example of a complex structure. Let's look at another thing you should be doing. They're called gerunds. Okay, if you don't know what a gerund is, you've got this definition I took from Google. So it's a verb form which functions as a noun. Generally, a gerund is talking about an action. For example, running is fun. The running part with the ing, this is your gerund. Speaking English is challenging. This is your gerund. Spending money is too easy. This is your gerund. Being patient is a virtue. Again, being is the gerund form. You don't want to confuse it. Okay, so we've got I like eating pizza. They hate doing their homework. So here these are still gerunds, but we don't want to confuse this with I'm running, it's fun, and we are speaking English right now. Okay, so these words are talking about actions, and generally we can replace them with a noun. So running is fun, exercise is fun, speaking English is challenging, languages are challenging. So this is what we mean by replacing with a noun. Here, when we have words like I like, hate, love, we can use the gerund, I like eating pizza, or we can use what's called an infinitive, I like to eat pizza. Okay, So these are the two main forms of the gerund. Now, a lot of people, if I go back, a lot of people get confused and think that every ing verb, or every ing word rather, is a gerund. That's not the case. Here I am running, it's fun, and we are speaking English right now. Because we've got the helping verb to be, this is actually part of the present continuous. So it's a continuous tense or a progressive tense. This is not the gerund. This is a verb. Okay? This here, I should say this is a verb within the structure of the continuous. Here is a gerund. We could not replace speaking with a noun. We are language, English right now. It wouldn't make sense, okay? So gerunds are a great way to increase your writing score because they are complex grammar. But I would use them in a special way. So let's talk about this. So if you're still with me, if you haven't fallen asleep, just say okay or something in the chat, because these are just some examples of complex grammar structures that you should be using. And of course, if you have any questions, you can ask them as we go along. So the best way to use gerunds, I find, is as subjects. Okay? So, for example, focusing on your family's happiness leads to a better life for everyone. So here we've got your gerund, okay? And if we look at the sentence structure, this is our subject, focusing on your family's happiness. It's the same as saying it, he, she. It's a subject, we, you know. It leads, okay? So we've got our verb, obviously, and then we've got our object or complement. So here, all of this is your subject, and it could be replaced with it. It leads to a better life for everyone. If I, in the previous sentence, had mentioned focusing on family's happiness, in this sentence I could replace it with it leads to. So this is a good way of using gerunds in your writing, and it's quite easy to do if you practice, but it looks pretty complex. Let's give another example. So this example, okay, now I see this as a mistake all the time when my students write, okay, and it's normally a mistake because they forget their verb. But it says, keeping fit and healthy while eating 5 portions of fruit a day is very important. Okay, so it's very, very long. But in fact, again, I could reduce this sentence down to 4 words because the subject is that. Keeping fit and healthy while eating 5 portions of fruit a day, all of that is a subject and could be replaced with the word it or they or I don't know, any kind of noun really, the chair. This is the point. So when you're writing with gerunds, make sure that you always think, okay, where is the subject? Where is my verb is? And do I have my object? But you can see that your subject here is very long, but it's still just the subject. So keeping fit and healthy while eating 5 portions of fruit a day. I've actually got 2 gerunds in the same subject. Double points, almost. But that's what I mean by using gerunds as subjects. So let's do a little exercise, okay? So pay attention and give me some of your answers in the chat. Okay, so the example. To be late is a crime in my class, okay? So what I want to do is to change that topic phrase into a subject with a gerund, okay, or a sentence using a gerund. So to be late is a crime in my class becomes being late is a crime in Phil's class. Okay, so this is what you need to do. You change what's written here and you put it into the ing form, the gerund. Okay, so we've got laziness in students results in low grades. Expenditure of tax money on healthcare is important. Daily exercise reduces serious health issues. He has been awarded a prize. Now he will donate more time to charity. Okay, so have a look at 1 to 4. Number 4 is a challenge. It's extra difficult. If anyone gets that right, I will be very impressed. So, in the chat, can you write down what you think the sentence is? So, laziness in students results in low grades. So we have to think about the gerund. Okay. Okay, studying lazily results in low grades. Yep, that would work. Any other suggestions? I mean, there may be more than one answer. I've got an example that I will bring up, but there may be more than one answer. I didn't think of that one, to be honest, but that's a perfect one. So if you've got any other suggestions, you can type in the chat. If you just want to type part of it, the gerund, that's fine. Okay, so let me put up my example. So I just put being lazy will result in a low grade for students. Okay, so I went for being lazy just because it's an adjective, laziness. I changed it to an adjective, and I added will result in because it's a future possibility. Yeah, so Raghav, you've got pretty much the same thing as me, but instead of saying having being, you'd say being. So I can't think of any situation where we would use having and another ing verb after it. You might say having been lazy, students get a low grade. That could work. What about the next one? So for number 2, you might need to change the words. You might need to think outside the box. Expenditure of tax money on healthcare is important. How could we turn that into a sentence using a gerund as our subject or as part of the subject? Give you guys a little bit of time because of the delay. So which verb is connected to expenditure of tax money? That's what you got to think about. Yeah, Krish has got it. Spending. So this is what I said. Spending tax money on healthcare is important. Okay, so it's using the same thing. Okay, spending tax money on healthcare is our subject with gerunds. How about daily exercise reduces serious health issues? How could we turn that into the same structure that we're trying to use? Okay, so exercising daily reduces serious health issues. Yeah, good. So I put exercising every day reduces serious health issues. So pretty much the same thing, yeah. And for number 4, oh no, you took your message away. Doing exercise every day reduces serious health issues. Yep, that's absolutely perfect as well. That would work. Yeah. So get in the habit of trying to write sentences like this. Not all the time, but when it makes sense. Okay. These are great examples. And for number 4, having awarded a prize, now he will donate more time to charity. Very close. Very close. But look again at the grammar in number 4. He has been awarded a prize. Now he will donate more time to charity. What you've put, Van Tran, is having awarded a prize. That's like he gave a prize to someone. But in fact, somebody gave the prize to him. How could you change your sentence with one word in order to say the same thing? Yeah. Having been awarded a prize, he will now donate more of his time to charity. So here, we're using the gerund form, but we're still using the present perfect as well. Okay, so double points. Super complex grammar. Okay, so this is just to get you to think about using gerunds a little bit more. And I have to say, in Raghav's essay, he did this. He used this. So he was using gerunds. So that was great. Okay, so let's have a look at the model answer. So if any of you did want to write an essay and you couldn't think of a topic that you wanted to send to corrections@theieltsgrind.com, this is an essay that you could do. So some believe that the overuse of technology is damaging to our society. Others believe that it has more benefits than drawbacks. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Okay. So this is a discussion essay where I will be looking at both sides of the opinion and then giving my own opinion in the conclusion. So what I did was to write a quick example, a model answer, trying to use some of the complex grammar structures that I just spoke about. So let's see how we do that. How can you send your essay? So make sure you send it to that address, corrections@theieltsgrind.com, which is at the top of the screen. You can either write it in an email and send it to us like that. If you're writing it by hand, you can write it by hand and then take a very good picture, and then what we will do is we will type it up and then we will correct it on the computer. But if you're practicing writing by hand, you can do that. Just make sure the picture is very, very clear so that we know what you've written. Right, so this is the model answer. While some worry over the deteriorating effects of modern technology on us as a society, others champion its positive impact. In this essay, I will review both these views and give my own opinion. So you see how my introduction is only 2 sentences, straight to the point, and here in this essay I will review both of these views and give my own opinion. I tell the examiner very directly what I'm going to do. Okay, so those concerned over the damage that being glued to a screen may cause have these worries for several reasons. The main reason is that the communicative technologies such as the internet has given rise to vicious anonymity. Can't say that word properly. By this I mean people can post hateful comments on social media. Besides, victims have no recourse as profiles and avatars are completely anonymous. Can't say that word either. I have to try this again. Anonymous. I'm getting tired, guys. I can't even read English now. For example, a teenager in the UK recently committed suicide due to an incessant campaign of internet trolling against her. Being conscious of this darker side of modern technology is essential for a full appreciation of its effect on our society. So you can see how in this sentence I'm using that construction. Okay, so I've actually got an independent clause and an independent clause joined together like this. Okay, and then here in this green sentence I'm using the gerund as a subject that we just spoke about. Meanwhile, others support the use of modern technology in all aspects of our lives. One of the principal reasons why they do this is due to the labour-saving aspect of many new inventions. That is to say, many recently released software packages allow you to streamline work tasks and better integrate with the schedules and needs of co-workers. ClickUp is a good example of this. When you have an important deadline, input the information into the calendar and include the right co-workers. It then sends invites out. Keeping up to date with important tasks is one of the reasons people feel technology has helped our society, particularly the professional sector. So here again, I'm trying to use that idea of an independent clause with a dependent clause here. Okay, so this one it doesn't really make sense on its own unless we've got this sentence, and again a gerund as a subject. In conclusion, although both these views have their merits, I personally feel that new technological advances are beneficial to society. Having more time in our lives because menial and manual tasks are performed by technology is extremely advantageous to my mind. Okay, so you can see how I've been trying to use the structures that we spoke about throughout this essay. And it's done in a quite natural way, to be honest. Okay. In terms of the essay itself, I explored why someone would think that it's a bad idea to have this modern technology. In paragraph 1 of the body, I explored why people would think technology is a good thing in the second one, and I personally chose what modern technology meant to me. So I chose the internet in the first one, and I chose software for work in the second one. And then in the conclusion, I give my own opinion and why. So the reason why is linked to this: tools that help us do things more quickly. Okay, so if you're looking for a model answer, this is a good one, and also it has all of those ideas that we've been looking at. Okay, so what I would do is give links to both the documents we were looking at today, so you can go through and look at it in your own time, and you can steal all those structures to use for yourself. So before we go, are there any questions at all? Anything that is not 100% clear? This is the time to ask. Okay. So if you want to know when we're back online, you can come to the website, go through and have a look at the schedule. So tomorrow we're doing mock speaking exams. I'll be here from 8 p.m. Taiwan time in the evening. So all you have to do is just turn up. I will set up a Zoom call or a Google Meet, jump in, and whoever's there first goes first. And depending on numbers, we can do a full exam or we can do part of an exam. So Raghav, initially I will try Zoom or Google Meet. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something else. Because if we can be off screen and use Messenger or something like that, that's okay. We just want to protect everyone's privacy as much as possible because this is live and it's on the internet. But we'll try and have a chat to you tomorrow if we can. Okay, so thank you guys. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did find it a useful video, make sure you give us a like. That helps us spread the word to more people. Thanks very much for participating, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.